So I'd like to start by saying, thank you, Kim, for the Russian tea, and if you feel like sending me any more, I won't turn it away. So a question I get asked a lot about writing is how to make a smooth transition between one scene and the next. I'll be honest, this can be difficult both to do and to explain. Sometimes you need to keep the same characters and just make a time jump, and sometimes you need to cut to a different scene entirely. My advice is to read it aloud. Read the last several paragraphs of one scene and the first several paragraphs of the next. Listen to your own voice. If it doesn't feel smooth, ask yourself why. How to deal with a transition is fairly specific to what's going on in the scene, so I can't give you any direct advice without looking at your individual piece, but here's a general rule to follow. Make sure your scene feels complete. If you took that scene out of the context of the story and read it by itself, make sure it has a beginning and an end and feels whole. By drawing the scene to a close, you subconsciously prepare the reader to move on to the next scene, whether it's just a time gap or a cut to something going on elsewhere. Do the same thing for the scene you're moving into. Remember, a scene is just a smaller story within the large one. Make sure you're beginning your next scene with the mindset that you should be able to read it by itself and have it make sense. Wrap up your first scene and introduce the next. That's the smoothest way to do it. Just make sure to remember when you're doing your lead up and wrap in that you are doing a creative piece and not a term paper. You don't need a conclusion or a thesis statement, you just need to give the reader a little nudge so they don't feel cut off or thrown forward. Please subscribe and feel free to shoot me an email.